Welcome to the Easy Project with your boy Eddie.
And your boy Zebby T. This podcast is about athletes transitioning into business and also the business leaders around the Gold Coast.
And Zebby and I have played NRL for 10 plus years.
And we're utilising the skills that we've learned over our NRL career to inspire others to chase their dreams and goals. Let's go!
All right, welcome to the Easy Project with my boy Zebby T and myself Eddie. Got a special guest on here. Welcome, Rebecca.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here. Thank you for
welcome. But before we start, we always like to give our...
First female too.
Yeah, first female.
Guys.
Yeah.
First female.
This is cool. This is a good one for us. And I hope you're ready, Eddie, because I'm ready.
I'm ready.
I'm ready.
This is what we like to do with all our guests. We like to give them their flowers. So today, just bear with us. Rebecca Adehill, is that right? Today, we're thrilled to have Rebecca Adehill with us. Originally from Sweden, Rebecca moved to Australia at 19 with just $3,000 and has since become a seven-figure business coach and real estate investor, a devoted mother of three. She empowers thousands globally, challenging conventional narratives about wealth, and her mantra: internal stillness, external speed. Rebecca, it's fantastic to have you here and share your insights. Welcome to the Easy Project. Let's go.
Oh, nice flowers.
Let's go. Thank you
How
so
do I go?
much.
How do I go there?
That was nice. I like that.
Let's
Yeah.
go.
That was
really good.
Is that okay? Everything right?
That is perfect. Thank you so much. I love it. Approved.
How's things? Happy Mother's Day.
Yep.
Thank you so much. I feel so honoured to be the first female on your show. So thank you so much for having me. And I'm really excited to have this conversation with you guys today.
Nah, it's awesome.
Yeah.
We've been waiting for a female, and then my wife was saying, "Oh, you need to get Rebecca," and I was like, oh, "How are we gonna get her? Like, she doesn't even know us."
I love that. And
Slip
here
the
I am.
DM.
Yeah.
Slip the DM.
So
Yeah.
Eddie's in charge of that. He goes, yeah, just always messaging people, saying, you want to come on the podcast and that? And then it's good that you gave up your time. Now we're here. Let's go.
I really love that because I'm such a firm believer that there are so many opportunities all around us if we choose to be open to them. So I actually personally love when people reach out and they connect.
Yeah.
And you're just like, hey, I want to have you on the podcast. Let's have a conversation. And if you're just open to opportunities and connecting and collaborating with people, you never know what's going to come out of it. So I'm really excited to be here.
100%, and that's something that my mum always tells me. She's like, "If you don't ask, you don't get."
Totally.
So
Yeah.
I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna ask.
Hey, before we start, I've got a funny story. Like, was last week, I went to the camera house and I seen this lady and she yelled at me, "Hey." And I go, "What? Hey, how are you?" Like thinking I knew her, but really I'm just thinking, man, who is this lady? Do I know her? And then she said, "Oh, I'm coming on your podcast on Monday." It was such a spin out, eh? Like it was good that we got to break the ice at Camera Warehouse. Is that it? Camera House?
Yeah,
At Robina?
Camera House. Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, so they're just having chats about like, oh man, we're looking forward to having you on and that. So it was
I was
good.
blushing.
Yeah.
I was blushing because I'm like, and that's very rare, but I
Yeah.
was like, why do I know this guy? And I was thinking maybe he's been on like Farmer Wants a Wife or something and I've seen him on TV. And I was like, why do I know this guy? And I said, I know
Yeah.
you. What's your name?
Yeah.
And we're like, oh, okay. I said, I'm going to be on your podcast. And you're like,
That's
oh,
it.
shit, I better start doing my research about you.
Yeah, that was a good one because like Eddie goes, nah, we got this lady named Rebecca coming on. He goes, yeah, sweet, let's do our research. Let's make sure we get everything down pat before we go on because we want to make sure that we praise her as much as we can,
Easy convos.
Yeah, easy convos here. Just remember, just easy chats.
Yeah,
nice,
I love
relaxing
that.
ones.
Thank you. Mm.
So we're gonna get right into it. Give us a rundown about your upbringing.
Oh, beautiful. I grew up in Sweden.
Yep.
I'm from a small country town, only 14,000 people living in this small town.
Wow.
I have an older brother, beautiful mum and dad. I feel like I really grew up on a foundation of love. I feel like a really solid foundation, a really beautiful community. And I really feel like you get that in, small country town. It's very a tight community.
Yeah.
Played a lot of sport growing up and had a beautiful, solid, simple, very simple upbringing. On a financial side of things, we weren't doing amazing. So I think that has really shaped me into the way my life is today. And I feel like, your values are often created from a void of something that you didn't have growing up. You value certain things. It's like if you didn't have health growing up, most people value health. If you didn't have financial security growing up, a lot of people, they will value the things that we didn't have, right? But I think I grew up on a foundation of just love, mum and dad, my older brother. And then we were all going to move to Australia. So my dad travelled here in like 86 and fell in love with Australia. Came back to Sweden, met my mum, had my brother and I. And then he was like, let's move to Australia. And we were like, cool. Could not speak a word of English. So I would go to the library and like study and like trying to learn English at the time. And then back then you couldn't really do like an online visa application. So we had to fill out everything by paper. We would send it off, and that whole process took years.
Yeah.
And then we had everything ready. We sold our family house, moved into this rental property. And the only thing we had to do was to go and get like a medical check to making sure that we could come over here. And my dad decided that he wanted to separate from mum, and they went their separate ways. So it was obviously a huge shock to our family. And today, it's a blessing looking back. They're really good friends today, and like it all happened for a reason. But I was 12 at the time, and something shifted in me in that moment. And I'm like, I'm still going. So no one moved. No one moved. We lived with mum in this little rental apartment, and dad, went his way. And then I was like, when I'm 18 or when I finish school, I'm going to save up my money and I'm going. And that's pretty much what I did. I went to dance school. So, I was dancing contemporary jazz, ballet. So just danced all day, every day for many, many years. And to save up money, I worked for a car insurance company. Yeah. So I was selling car insurance outside of my school hours just to save up some money. And then when I was 18, I saved up $3,000, bought a ticket, and then I left. And that was the start of my journey moving to Australia.
Wow, that's so cool.
Yeah.
So what kind of, what were you into, like, as a young kid, though? Like, obviously, like, you go through the time of your parents being separated, and was that tough times as well? But, like I know you said that you were into dancing. Was there any other kind of sports that you were into?
Yeah, I played European handball, and we quickly, I just need to highlight this because we quickly had this conversation off air, and it's not the type of handball that you played in school. This is an Olympic sport, mind you. Yeah. So you have to Google it. I played that. My mum was actually my coach, and then I went to become a coach as well. Then I played that, for the majority of my life. But then really dancing took over my life, and I am so grateful for having that time in dancing because it really shaped me. Like, there are certain qualities as a dancer when it comes to not only like your charisma and your performance, like being on stage so many times, knowing like how to show up on stage and deliver a message. Yeah. And I think that can really reflect really nicely when it comes to showing up online, like communicating like through a screen, for instance. But then also it's that dedication and that work ethic, that showing up and training every single day. I was in the studio practicing and practicing and practicing to the point, the moment I stepped out on stage, I knew I would deliver. Yeah. And I think those qualities are really taken with me now when I've had my business. And
can I quickly touch on that? I've got an older daughter. She's only 11, but it's crazy. Like, I don't ever want her to change because I feel like she's got that. That sort of like that trait where she can just pop, like she can just dance anywhere if she really wanted to, and it just cracks me up. It's so bizarre because I think, where did she get this from? She never got it from. She's definitely not from me.
From Dad.
And it's not from her mum. sorry, Nikki. Like I always encourage her. Don't ever lose that. Would that be true to say?
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like dancing is like it's an extension of your expression. And I think when you see someone expressing themselves other than speaking, I feel like it's a beautiful thing to witness, because what I love about it, that you can tell a story without saying a single word. So, and also it comes with confidence. It comes with, really getting to know your body and movement and expression and personality and storytelling. Like, there is so much. And also the perfectionist in you, which is both a good and a bad thing. The perfectionist in me, she's quite loud, and I say she because it's like it's a version of me and my 7 personalities. But it's a version of me, and I really need her at times. You know, sometimes, you know, when it comes to my business and wanting things to be perfect and, you know, doing a good job, I really think that stems from my dancing and just always striving to perfection.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
cool.
I'm taken aback. You said that at 12 years old, you had a shift. Did that shift, was that the mentality of, okay, I'm going after this?
Yeah, it was. Well, I think, the most challenging part for me was witnessing my mum when my parents separated.
Yeah.
To see how tough that was for her. And what I've realised, what she was most scared about was, are we going to be okay financially?
Yeah.
So, you know, I spiraled, you know, I was pretty bad at the time. Like I had some pretty few rough teenage years, and so did my brother. And then seeing, you know, my mum and dad, you know, they were obviously heartbroken, the two of them as well. And I think it was a really, really tough time to go through as a teenager at the time. But it was something that shifted in me when I saw my mum. And I remember this one time, she actually can't remember it, but I remember she called me on the phone once. I think I was like 14.
Yeah.
And she was so angry at me. And I very rarely see my mum angry.
Yeah.
And she said, "What have you done, Rebecca? What have you done?" And I was thinking, what have I done? That's so bad for my mum to be so heartbroken. And my phone bill was $60. And I had broken my mum's heart because of it. And I'll never forget how disappointed she was in me because of a phone bill for $60.
Yeah.
And I think when you have a moment like that, and she can't remember it, but that is just like, that sits right in here for me. Like, I can't wait to pay mum's phone bill for the rest of my life. I'm like, I'll take it back.
Yeah.
And I think just having that struggle, and also what that feels like as a child, to never feel like you have enough, to always feel like you are just getting by.
Yeah.
It's not a nice feeling, but I knew that I was going to be the person that would change and shift the whole trajectory of my family, the wealth we have created, and also for my own future and my children now. That I never want us to ever having to have a conversation that we can't afford something or you can't do that, and just having this guilt and fear around not having enough. And I think a lot of people, they go through life feeling like that.
Yeah. Did that go, like, when you had that shift, when you started understanding, did that implement over time, or did you just know, bang, I'm in, nah, that's it, that's the last time I want to go through that again?
No, I definitely went through it again.
Yeah.
Because coming out, like, fresh out here to Australia, like, I could barely speak English. You know, I had to sort of start from scratch, and, you know, got my first job, worked in hospitality. And then I found myself getting a job in real estate. So I had this vision. I'm like, one day I'm going to own one of them houses, but I'm so far from it. But what happens if I get myself a job in real estate? That will just move me one step closer of just being in the energy of potentially having one of these houses one day. And I remember walking into my first ever real estate job interview, and I had only worked in hospitality prior to that. Obviously, my work experience in Sweden, but in Australia. And this guy, you know, he walked in this suit, and I had to run to the shop and buy my first corporate dress. Like, I had no idea what I was doing, and I was like, I'm just going to go in and give it a shot. And then I sat down at this desk, and I was so fucking nervous. I was so nervous. And he looked at me, and he looked at my resume. He had printed it out, and he goes, "Rebecca, I'm really confused." He goes, "You know that you have applied for a job in real estate, and all I can see here is that you have been bartending and you're a dancer. Like, please explain why I should hire you." And in that moment, I just took a big breath, and I thought to myself, here is my chance. I said, number one, I think you should hire me because I'm a dancer. And he goes, "Please explain." And I said, it has instilled a set of values in me, my work ethic, my, you know, the perfectionist side of me. And also, it doesn't matter what task you'll give me, I make sure I study it, I will practice, and I will make sure when it's time to deliver, I will make sure that it's perfect. And I said, I've taken that quality with me throughout my whole, journey. And then I said, and also on Friday afternoons, I said, I can whip up a good cocktail. I said, so whenever you want to have drinks, I said, I can do that too. And he sort of looked at me and I was like, fuck, I just think I stuffed this one up. And then he called me 3 days later and he said, I have never met anyone who had such great confidence and just backed themselves that they belonged in this room. And he was like, and that's why I hired you.
Yeah.
And that was sort of my transition into real estate. And, you know, I was both leasing and selling properties around the eastern suburbs in Sydney for a few years. And then found my way into F45. And that's how I met Dan Con, who was on the show.
Yes, Connie.
Yeah.
Good old Connie.
Yes.
So, you know, he was obviously one of the first ambassadors for F45. And him and I, we would travel around to the few F45s at the time. We would travel around and, you know, started the whole movement of taking the photos in front of the sign and just creating that brand awareness. So we would be traveling to the studio, you know, in Paddington and Surrey Hills and CBD. And then obviously that will start to grow and more and more and more. And then I got in contact with Robert Deutsch, who was the founder at the time. And he offered me a job at headquarters. So cool. Yeah.
That's mad.
That's crazy.
What a circle.
Like, so that's when I probably seen like your profile come up because you commented on one of Connie's
Dan Con's,
snippets.
Yes.
It's crazy.
Right, yes.
Yeah. So that's so good. Like, I want to like talk about like, you know, you talk about like, you know, with us as professional athletes or, you know, retired, we're big on the finer details. We're big on the little 1%ers.
Totally.
Like you explained that like really well then, like, is that a trait that is needed if you want to be successful with anything, with business?
I love this conversation so much. I believe the magic is in the unseen hours.
Yeah.
Like, who are we being when no one's watching?
100%.
Yeah.
Like, it's all easy to show up when, you know, the lights are on and we're having this conversation. But, you know, who are we being when no one's watching?
Yeah.
What foundation am I operating from? Like, how am I leading myself, not just in my business, but in all areas of my life? Where am I not taking responsibility? Where am I not leading myself? Like, where am I not being true to myself even?
Yeah.
And I think staying in integrity, and it almost becomes addictive when you have that mentality and that mindset of like looking for the 1%, looking for opportunities of growth. It is so much magic in that. And I think once you learn to turn that into a superpower of always looking for that 1% improvement, I feel like that will change the whole trajectory of what you do simply because you have that mindset.
Yeah.
Man, that's crazy. Eh? It's so true, but
Exactly.
you know that if you don't do those 1%ers, it just goes down the trap, and it just goes in that hole. But I love the way you're speaking about. I feel like, I don't know, at the age I'm going back to 12 years old all the time because I feel like you already shaped that mentality of, I'm going to win. I'm going to do whatever it takes to make it happen. And like the way you're carrying yourself, I know obviously going through your profile and my wife speaks highly about you and stuff like that. So it's amazing to see the journey that you've come through. So it's awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I actually had another moment like that, and it was probably an even more pivotal moment for me in my journey. I remember the date, it was the 27th of January 2019, the day before my birthday. And so after I left F45, I actually started up a marketing and business agency specifically for fitness franchises.
Yeah.
And I ran that company for 5 years, and I was working with, you know, hundreds of franchisees. And essentially we ran the back end of their business so they could focus on training people. Because what I witnessed when I worked at F45, after running all these franchise inductions, they had invested their life savings on, you know, buying this franchise. But they were really good at training people, but they didn't really know how to market or run a business. So after they spent 5 days with me at induction, we sort of said, off you go, good luck.
Yeah.
And they were just thrown in the deep end. And that's sort of how I started my first ever business. But then COVID happened. So I lost 95% of revenue overnight.
Wow.
And I had just had my second child. And I was working through, you know, pregnant, birthing, breastfeeding, all the things. I was still working through all of that. But I remember when obviously COVID happened, when I lost, and it was a significant amount of revenue. Like we had 5% left that turned into nothing. So I was actually on government grants when that happened because, and there was a lot of people that were way, you know, worse than our situation. but still my business was classified because our drop in revenue was so significant. So I was on government grants, whatever, 10 grand, whatever we got from the government at the time. But I remember being so sleep deprived, so exhausted from just working my freaking butt off, then still felt like I had nothing.
Yeah.
And then my husband was going through with the whole transition, you know, out of the army and stuff. He was going through a tough time at the time. And I just remember it was the day before my birthday. And I remember I was sitting down at my desk and I just bawled. I was just crying. And I remember that was my moment when I'm like, enough is enough. So I took a photo of my face looking like an absolute, you know, I was really upset. But I'm like, I'm going to remember this moment. And that was the moment I changed our lives. And I've never been in a situation like that. And I think that was really how my coaching business was born also, because I very openly shared my journey of losing the revenue, learning how to pivot, learning how to show up differently and getting back up again. And I think that was a hard, especially when you have kids, you have a huge responsibility.
Yeah.
And then seeing your better half going through a tough time, I was like, now it's on me to step up.
Yeah.
And I did not take that responsibility lightly, but I knew I had it in me because I never wanted to sit the day before my birthday and feel like that ever again.
Yeah.
And that was really how my coaching business was born. So I started to share my journey online, and I would have one person reach us saying, I lost my job due to COVID. I know you have some experience in, you know, getting businesses off the ground.
Yeah.
Do you think you can help me? And then another person reached out, and another person reached out, and another person reached out. And then I found myself sort of getting back up on my feet, and I had an abundance of clients coming to work with me. And that was really the beginning of my coaching journey.
Wow.
That's so good. When you so like obviously you use social media as your driving tool.
Definitely.
At the time, can you think back, like what was your following like just back then, and how did that grow? Like, you know what I mean? Like, were you generating leads from your following?
Yeah, definitely. And I think here's the beautiful thing when you build a personal brand.
Yeah.
That people really, they fall in love with the person that you are and your values and how you show up in life. And I think this is a beautiful thing. I had previously showed my journey, like working in my other business, but I had a separate account for that. But I still had a very strong personal brand. And I think when you openly share what you are navigating, what you are going through, and I said, now I'm starting to work with one client, now I'm working with another client. It was very organic. And I think I was just sharing openly what I was doing and how I was helping people through, you know, really challenging times. And just based off having that conversation and then people starting to share their experience of working with me. And it was just a very organic, beautiful process. Yeah. And I think that is in the magic of having a personal brand. The way I see it is like you have a business, which is, you know, your strategy and really the solution that you bring to the marketplace. It's, you know, it's a structure. And then on the other side, you have this beautiful personal brand, which is really, that's the soul, that's the magic, the heartbeat, you know, what really people connect with.
Yeah.
And when you bring those two together, I think, you know, that's where the magic is.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people where I see they do the mistake, they really focus on the business side of things, but they fail to really build their personal brands. And when you have the foundation of a personal brand, like I could, you know, sell so many things if I wanted to, because I know I have a strong personal brand.
Yeah.
But I choose to go down one path. But if I ever wanted to pivot, I know that I have a foundation of a strong personal brand, which I think it's beautiful because it allows us to grow. You know, I'm sure you guys are not the same person that you were 5-10 years ago, and or maybe not, but you know, we change over time and letting that evolution take us. And that's what you can really do when you have a really solid personal brand.
That's cool.
Good, man. The personal brand is key.
It's key. Like everyone always talks about, like, obviously as athletes, when we finish the game, we kind of lose that identity. But we keep forgetting that we are a brand, like we're our own brand. And like seeing you speak about that, I feel like it's so important to make sure that we tap into that.
Definitely. And I think like even you guys, like huge role models for a lot of people, and you have that personal brand. And I think that's what you really should amplify. And I think that was one of the draw cards why I'm sitting here having this conversation with you guys today. And if it wasn't because of your personal brands, maybe I wouldn't sit here.
Yeah.
Because I think you guys have a very unique story in how you have transitioned to be here. And I think that's what's so cool about learning to go from one, industry or, one profession to another and seeing how you guys have transitioned. I think there is, that's really cool to witness.
Yeah, it's crazy. Like when you talk about the personal brand, like me 5 years ago, you wouldn't see me doing reels on workouts and all that kind of stuff because I just feel like I'm not confident to share that to the world, you know what I mean? But if you look back to your identity, you used to do that. You used to go out and play in front of thousands and thousands of people. What's the difference? What's the difference of sharing like a little bit of yourself and expressing yourself? For me, I love the fitness industry.
Yes.
And doing little workouts and showing everyone. And people do message you and say, man, keep doing what you're doing. I love the videos, Yeah,
because you're pretty open with your Insta, and I love it.
Yeah.
I feel like there's not many people that do that. But like you speaking that out loud in the camera and that, it's just cool to see because now you're like, all right, time to open up.
It's
time to open up.
Yeah, well, I think that's beautiful, but it's also very vulnerable because you need to sort of be okay with the fact that you're not going to be for everybody.
Yeah.
And I think that used to be one of my biggest fears was not being liked or not being accepted. And I think you really need to know who you are and you need to learn to being okay with being rejected or people not liking you. But I think if I show up in my most authentic version and just showing up as my fullest expression of who I am, if I attract people from that frequency and owning who I am, I know that we're going to get along because there is no filter. There is no, disconnect from the way I'm showing up to who I really am. Yeah. So I know if I show up with that embodiment and that just being authentic, I'm going to attract very similar people.
Yeah.
And I think that's why I'm having so much ease and flow inside of my business right now. I often speak about attracting your dream clients, but you can only really do that if you show up as the most authentic version of who you are.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Wow, that's cool. So when you were did you know you were going to go into coaching? So when obviously everything happened at that end and you were just like, did you have to kind of find your way into coaching or?
Yeah, definitely. Because it was very, as I said, it was just very organic. I just started with one conversation that led to another. And then I'm like, well, I think I'm onto something here. I'm just having an abundance of clients. And I think because I was pregnant with baby number 3 at the time. And it was sort of, I had all my kids sort of back to back. And I think in that moment, when I witnessed all of the clients come to me and I said, I think I'm onto something here. Yeah. I really think that this next chapter will have a solid foundation. But then because I had my kids back to back, I was like, I need to pivot now because I can only work with 3-4 clients at the time. Yeah. And I only allowed myself 15 hours per week was all I worked. Wow. And I was like, I need to, and I think a lot of people, even when you don't have so much time, I never saw that as a disadvantage. Yeah. I really looked at that to go, how can I maximize my 15 hours? Yeah. Yeah. And I got so clear on what I had to do. Every second count. That is, I don't procrastinate. I leave no room for it. Yeah. I get shit done. And if I have 15 hours, that's what I've got and I'm going to make the most of it. Yeah. But then I got a capacity with one-on-one clients and then I launched into a group program. And my first ever group program was specifically built to help startup businesses get to consistent 10K months. Yep. And you just need to have a really solid foundation. I took them through that process. And that program alone generated over $500,000 in my first year. Wow. And I only did 2 calls per week. And that was really the start of, things really taken off. And since then, things have exploded.
That is so cool.
Did you read the 4-Hour Work Week? Did you read that
no, book? No, I haven't. Yeah.
That's crazy, eh?
Yeah.
Some of those principles that you just said is coming out of that. And
it's coming out of that book.
Man.
Yeah.
Did you educate yourself over time? Or was it just from experiences that you've...
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. And I think I have this little rule. So for every hour I coach, I study 2 hours.
Okay.
So this could just be, listening to a podcast or reading a book or, investing in, other coaches or mentorships and just investing in my own personal evolution. And that has sort of just become a thing now that I'm so, obsessed with learning and growing and becoming better, that there is actually no limit how good we can get. And I really want to see, I think we're all so blessed to be here.
Yeah.
This one life that we have.
Yeah.
And I really want to experience that. I really want to see how much impact I can make.
Yeah.
How many people I can serve, how many people I can connect with, how much love I can experience, how much I can feel, like just the whole experience of life. And I don't take that lightly.
Yeah.
I think about it every single day when I wake up. How can I show up today? How can I fall in love with my freaking life every single day? How can I romanticize my life?
Yeah.
There is so much magic, and I think just in living your freaking life.
Yeah.
And that has been a big part of my journey. And I think something that I teach my clients too, that when we instill that mentality, everything in life becomes an overflow.
Yeah.
Then you don't show up from a space of, it's not a lack.
Yeah.
It's not from scarcity. Can you feel the difference? It's not like a working away from driver. Like it used to be for me when I'm like, fuck, I'm never going to be in that situation ever again. But now I feel like it's a towards driver.
Yeah.
So everything that I do comes from a space of overflow.
Yeah.
It's never from a space of, I must do that. It's not a lack.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow, that's cool. So like with the life balance, obviously you're doing all that with your kids while pregnant. Like how was that? Was that like?
It's looking back at it, I was like, shit, I was really like just hanging on for dear life, hoping I would get through it. And also, my husband has been a stay-at-home dad for the past 2.5, almost 3 years now too.
How good.
So he's kicking.
Shout out to those
you're the
stay-at-home
man.
dads.
Yeah,
Shout out to
shout
the stay-at-home
out,
dads.
yeah.
It's a
Like
tough
they-
gig, man.
It's a tough gig. Hey, it's a tough gig.
100%. No, well, I think, you know what, there's a lot of people that have really romanticized the whole, I can't wait to retire my husband. Now I'm like, I can't wait for him to like go back into work. No, but he loves it. Like it's been beautiful to do that. And I think just him serving in both Army and Navy for so many years and seeing him being able to, number one, just spend the last 2-3 years in his own healing journey and just, becoming the best version of himself and having the spaciousness and the time to be able for my husband to do that has been beautiful. That it's no pressure of him needing to go and get a job, that he can just kick back and do that. So that has been beautiful. But I don't believe in balance. And I think people view balance the wrong way.
Yeah.
So it's not really about, if we look at like the wheel of life, it's not about having everything balanced.
Yeah.
What I believe balance is an internal state of being okay with your priorities.
Yeah.
So if I wake up every single day and, I have my priorities in a certain way, am I okay with the way I'm prioritizing my life?
Yeah.
And if not, I know that I'm not in balance and I need to shift my priorities. So then I also accept like seasons that I'm going through. So for instance, when I was still, breastfeeding, raising my other two and, it was a crazy household at home. But I think I was okay with that because it was a season.
Yeah.
I knew it wasn't going to be forever. So it's like, I don't aim for it always to feel amazing and for it to be perfect. It's like I embrace the messy and going through the tougher season where you're just like getting shit done, right?
So true,
Yeah.
Tough times, eh? They don't last. But if you get through them, man, there's always,
There's
right
so
at
much
the-
magic in that. Yeah.
100%. It's like doing the preseason. That's the tough times.
Yeah, right?
we
I
do a
bet it is.
preseason,
Yeah.
You do a
gosh.
preseason and then you
Week
once it's
2,
done,
you
you're
want to
like,
go
yes.
home and give up.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
Until you start and get the actual rewards for it, right?
Exactly, yeah.
And even that with the whole preseason for you guys, it's like very much the same when you're building out a business and you don't see the results yet.
Yeah,
It's like, who are you being? How are you showing up when no one's paying you yet?
exactly.
How are you showing up when you don't have the evidence while you worked so freaking hard to create? when you don't yet have that, like someone's paying you,
Yeah.
like what's your faith in that moment?
Yeah,
How willing are you in that moment when you don't have the results? And that's what I see a lot with my clients. It's easy to show up when money is rolling in and clients are paying you and things are good. But who are you being when, number one, you haven't seen that yet, or you're going through a challenging time like that? That's when leadership comes into play.
Yeah.
Like really witnessing people in their leadership and how they can like lead themselves through those times.
Have you ever felt that, like, during your time of being a life coach, though? Like, obviously, you work so hard to try and, build revenue and that. Do you experience that?
Experience what part? Like as in...
Like getting those customers on board to, like, for you to sell your product and all that kind of stuff in a way, or you just killing it straight off the bat?
No, well, I definitely go through it. I go through the emotions of, like, of course, I think it's very normal. Like, am I going to have a successful launch? Are people going to enjoy what I have to say? Like, are they going to value what I have to share with them? Like, I think those things. But the baseline, and I think here's the beautiful thing. When you are an embodiment of what you do, so like I truly practice what I preach. There is no disconnect. Like the process that I'm teaching my clients, I do it to myself first. So I know it's worked for me, it's worked for that client. I know it's going to work for another 1,000, So I think that gives me great confidence in just trusting my own ability that I know what I'm talking about. That's number one. I think number two is like really shifting my assumption. And I ask my clients this often, like, what's your assumption? Like even you guys, the people that are listening right now, like what's your assumption about your audience? What is your assumption about the people that are following you online? If you put an offer out to the world and asking people to pay for it, what is your assumption about your audience? And I think what you'll find is that a lot of people have the assumption that people don't see value in it. People don't want to pay me. They don't see me as authority. This person is on one income, or they're not going to, value this, like whatever their assumptions are. But I'm like, how can you show up with a huge level of conviction and confidence if your assumption, like really your underlying assumption is that no one wants to pay me for this. No one sees the value in this. So every time I show up, I have the assumption that every single one of my followers is hanging off every word I say. They follow me because they want to learn from me. They follow me because they want to listen to me. They follow me because I inspire them, because they are ready to pay me. And when you train your brain to think like that, you show up with a knowing that people are going to invest. You show up with a knowing. I use an active voice a lot in my marketing. This is what we are going to do when we work together. Like it's already done in my mind. It's already a done deal. And, if we speak about the whole world of manifestation even, like that's like it's a done deal. But I get to detach from the timeline of like when it's going to happen, if that makes sense. So I carry myself with the knowing that it's going to happen, but I completely detach from the timeline.
That's cool.
100%. I'm a massive believer of practice what you preach. Like, when you see people online that have got experience in, like, for me, I'm following a lot of fitness enthusiasts, and I'm going, man, what's this guy doing different? And then like, but then you look at his profile, you look at his following, you look at like what he's doing, and then I go see myself doing what that guy's doing.
Yes.
Yeah, because, that's just influencing at the same time, but it's good though.
Yeah. And I think it's even more important now, especially like with AI coming out and, there's a lot of people that kind of start to look and sound the same. I think it's so important that we focus even more to like really like dialing in on our voices. Like who are we being? How are we showing up? How can I bring my unique experience, personality, like view of life? Like how can I show up really dialing in on my own voice? Like that is how we're going to stand out in the landscape. And I think we will look back at this time thinking, why didn't we even maximize even more? The fact that we could show up on social media for free, express ourselves in, this capacity, like we can sit and listen to a podcast, they can view us online, like the repurposing aspect of it all, like we have so many opportunities to be seen,
Yeah.
but people are not leveraging that
Yeah.
to the fullest capability. Hence why I've got my brother here now to be like, you're my full-time content creator. Like, we're going to maximize
Yeah,
this.
you need that. You need that too.
That's so good.
Yeah.
What do you take joy out of? Obviously, you do retreats, and obviously you got a lot of clients that are on board. What do you take joy out of? Providing that life experience for these people.
What a beautiful question. And I think this really comes back to my mantra.
Yeah.
And I want to explain, and thank you for sharing that in the intro too. This mantra dropped in for me at a meditation about 2 years ago. And I asked myself, what's the answer? What is the answer? And all I could hear in my mind was internal stillness, external speed is the fastest road to success.
Oh.
And that mantra for me really shows up in my life, because often what you'll feel, and this is the biggest gift that I can give my clients, that it doesn't matter how quickly we move in our external world, that we can move with speed and we can kick goals and we can do all of the things. But our internal state is that we are feeling anchored and grounded with a regulated nervous system.
Yeah.
That I want to show them you don't have to burn out and completely fry yourself to have a successful business. And I think when I witness the state, like the internal state of my clients, when I see that shift and they look at me and they say, you were right, Rebecca, it gets to be this good. And I'm a firm believer in it. It gets to be this good. I'm not saying we're not going to work hard, because I work freaking hard and we all do.
Yeah.
But when it lands for them, like truly lands for them, when their internal state is like, I am good.
Yeah.
I have more than enough. I'm okay. Like that is when I'm like, I'm done.
Yeah.
That is all I want.
Yeah.
Because I know that feeling is completely unbeatable. Yeah.
Wow, that's amazing. That's
So
crazy.
good. That's so good. Eh? Got some good knowledge here for our audience, man. Like, it's crazy. I'm taking a lot out of this chat now. Do you work with just only females or males too?
Nah, I do work
with
with
everyone?
guys too, 100%. Yeah. Well, I've already made the assumption you guys are going to work with me after this. Yeah,
Damn it.
I came in here on a mission.
Yeah.
Nah.
Well, I feel like a lot of athletes that transition into the world that we're in now
Yeah.
Are finding it difficult. That's probably why we started this
Yeah,
podcast, was
100%.
just for a lot of these guys here. Now, like your husband as well, in similar boats. It's just, really getting someone like yourself a profile that can speak on about, what you deliver and that there is an opportunity everywhere.
Definitely. And I think the first question is like to really, especially when you've gone through a transition, and I would even do this with clients, they transition from one career and then starting their own business. Like it doesn't really matter where we've come from, but you get to, I think the first question is to really ask yourself, like, what do I value? Like, what do I truly value in the season of life that I'm in right now?
Yeah.
What I used to value like 10 years ago, it's very different to what I value today.
Yeah.
So how can we create a business that works in alignment with your values?
Yeah.
How can you create a business that works in alignment with your financial goals?
Yeah.
And then like, what am I passionate about talking about? What can I talk about for hours and hours and hours? And could I think about one person that could benefit from this one thing I could offer? And people want to connect with people. And here's the biggest thing. People need accountability. People need to support. People love to even feel heard and seen and acknowledged, to be like, I'm going through something. I'm going to need you to be my rock so I can navigate this. And that's often what I get to be for my clients, because we get distracted and we get clouded. So there is so much power in being able to be that person for someone else.
Yeah.
And when you have that, even the way I'm teaching my clients to create like an online offer, if you think about one particular client, and often what you'll find is that people's ideal clients or their dream clients is often a past version of who they used to be.
Yeah.
Like I could really, so for instance, if you were to mentor like dudes who were going through a transition, you're going to be like, fuck, I wish someone was there for me
Yeah.
to really help me find the path.
Yeah, 100%.
Now I'm going to be the path for them,
Yeah.
right? So you think about one person, you help them with one particular transformation for one result. So I think in timelines. So it's like one client, one timeline, one transformation. And you get to place these little like stepping stones along the way that they can take. They're like, okay, if they were just starting out, if they were just transitioning, what will be the first step I would take them through? What will be the second step? The third step? And what will be like the biggest transformation I could give them? Like that's a business. And you position that. And when you speak into what that looks like and speaking into the assumption that people are ready, they are actively looking for a solution. Say, for instance, you guys went and created like this cool online offering right now.
Let's do it.
Let's do it. Like,
She's got me.
Right?
I'm in.
Oh, man.
If you showed up and marketing with a message, like knowing that there are guys out there at the moment actively looking for a solution. They're not sitting in like problem land. Like they're not sitting in their pain and like, fuck, I don't know what to do with my life. They're actively like, I'm ready. I'm looking for a solution. If you market to that solution with their knowing that they are ready to move, that the whole buyer cycle is going to be very fast because you have the assumption that they're ready and you're speaking into someone who's actively seeking a solution that you have. So when you market it, you don't have to speak into the problems that you have. You need to understand what problems you are solving, but you get to speak into the tangible outcomes that you give your clients. So we take them from problem to promised land, but you get to market to their I am done moment and guiding them to desire land, to the tangible results and outcomes they will give in that particular offer. That's why it sells. Like that's the magic. Yeah.
Man, to anyone that's out there listening, man, in that transition phase, just heard it right there.
Yeah,
just heard it all right there,
It's
man.
about to create
We've got a plan for you.
Hey, Eddie, man, we're gonna go after this and talk about our next move. Our next move, bro.
DM us the word transition. We'll be in touch.
that's it.
Yeah.
What is one thing that you value today?
Oh, connection.
Connection.
I really value connection, and I think just listening. Like I'm right here right now. Like I'm so present when I'm speaking to you guys. And just I'm valuing connection, conversations, really the finer moments in life where you get to listen, like truly listen to someone without thinking ahead and needing the answer, like truly sit in someone's presence and connect. That is probably one thing that I value so much.
That's a really powerful word there. Like we always speak about it during, like team environments and that. I think that word gets floated around, staying connected with your teammates. Obviously whatever's going on in the outside world, if you can stay present and stay connected, it's definitely going to make you a good person, I feel.
I feel like listening is such a big thing.
100%.
Sometimes you can be in a conversation with someone, but you're not listening.
Yeah.
He's not listening to you, and you're like, okay, I just wasted my time. But like, I
you
feel
can
like,
see their minds going and they're not quite there. And I think but that also comes with practice. Like I wasn't always the best listener, but once you become really aware of like, I'm going to become a really good listener. I think you just start to think differently. And you're not as reactive in terms of I need to reply or I need to say something straight away, because you can sit in the moments of stillness where a lot of people find it really challenging. And I'm like, that is the magic when you can learn to be comfortable in the moments of stillness, when we learn to slow down, when we learn to listen and like truly connect. But even if I can just elaborate what you said with like having your teammates, like I could almost feel a bit jealous when you said that. I'd be like, I don't have any teammates,
You're on your own,
and I'm seeing like that tight community of just like, you have each other. That is like, for me, I want that. And I feel I've gone through a transition even in like friendship circles and I think that is a huge, like your environment is so big.
Mad.
Like if you entertain conversations that, and I'm not saying we can't have conversations that are, real and tough. But if you're every day, you have conversations that are just rooted in pain and, all the bad stuff that are happening in the world, I feel like that sort of becomes your environment, right? So I'm really specific on who, I spend my time with. But when you become, a bit ruthless like that,
Yeah.
sometimes you go through a transition where you kind of feel quite lonely, or you feel misunderstood before you find your people, before you connect with new people,
Yeah.
and letting new people come into your life. But your community and having your people is key. And sometimes I wish I want to make a conscious effort of prioritizing that more than what I am at the moment.
Yeah.
True.
Yeah.
Do you want to build a team, or you're just going to keep it?
I was more referring to like friendship circles.
Oh, friendship. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, so not necessarily like a team in my business. I've got a team, a small team, but I was more referring to like,
Yeah.
having my sisters,
Yeah,
having my circle of, and I have some beautiful friends, I really do, but it's not the same energy like that you boys have with your teammates, and
I definitely feel like coming out of rugby league, because you're in this bubble.
Yeah.
So you got 30 guys that you hang out 24 hours a day.
Yeah.
And then you step outside of that, the bubble starts to shrink.
Yep.
And then you start to pick out the ones that are there for you. Like, I love the boys. Everyone that I speak to, they're the best.
Yeah.
But you start to find your own circle. And then it gets smaller to the point it could be 3 or 4 years.
Yeah.
Totally.
You know what I mean? And that's all I need, like, for me. It's
Yeah.
like, that's all we need.
And I think that as you get older too, and you have families, and your time is really limited, it's like I work and I spend time with my children.
Yeah.
And if I ever go, and my husband and now my brother and his partner and their little baby also, but the time I do spend outside of that, I'm very specific and protective of that time. And I think you're the same. Like, it used to be a friendship circle. Now I'm like, we're kind of turning into a half moon. That's about it. There's no circle, but there's 3-4 people there that I really value, and
Sometimes it does get hard, when you think about like, who the people that you want to hang around and if you've got time, because like, one thing that I do value is time. Having time to be able to like take the kids to school, pick them up from school, do all that kind of stuff. Even over afternoon, I try my best to clock off through like your work commitments.
Yes.
I try my best. But
how do you find that transition to go from like work to dad life? And
it is hard, because like I feel like when you're trying to build something that that's gonna generate income for yourself,
for sure.
I feel like you need to be working on it 24/7.
Yeah.
And it is hard to clock off. It is hard to like give your kids a time. Sometimes where I could be on the laptop doing something important, and then I have my little 4-year-old, Daddy, I want to go outside. Yeah, just wait. And then the time goes quick, and then she doesn't have that feeling anymore. She's on the couch watching TV.
Yeah.
So I've got to like really learn how to manage that, because you want to give your all to your kids.
Yeah.
And
definitely.
that's it. And I feel like when people are trying to start up like building businesses, those are the moments where they struggle with. Yeah. And I feel I find myself doing that at the moment.
I feel like the one thing that you picked on was priorities.
Yeah.
So you set your priorities. This time I'm doing this. This time I'm doing this with my family. So I feel like if we can prioritize better, you probably know better than us.
But that's exactly right. And then even, I never start work before 10 o'clock.
Yeah.
And that is simply because I want to be able to take my kids to school.
Yeah.
And in case one of them would have a meltdown, like only happened last week, we were so close at happening this morning, and then,
true.
use my little bribes, and then we were all good.
The bribes always work.
Yeah,
hey,
the bribes
treat
work.
after school.
Any energy drinks or whatever you want. But I never start work before 10 o'clock. And the reason for that is because I want to be able to be there for my children and be completely present as I'm dropping them for school. Yeah. I count for a meltdown to happen.
True.
And if it doesn't happen, I'm like, great, we're good. I'm going to be early.
Yeah.
But still, I never want to feel like I just need to drop them and go.
Yeah.
Right? And same when it comes to school pickup. So I'm like, my time it's quite limited. And now when I recently bought a commercial property, which is my new office now, and it's been beautiful to be able to go to work, if that makes sense. Like you're not just working from home. And I did that, for the past sort of 5 years. But I think having that transition, so I'm clear on my transition. So I've gone through, naturally when you're in business, if, you're aware of like masculine and feminine energies. Yeah. So when I'm at work, I'm heavily in my masculine energy. It's like in taking action and the doing and right. But I know that there's a different energy required when I'm at home. I need to transition into like my feminine energy, right? So that is a difficult transition. And sometimes if I just storm in, my husband would be like, you need to go and have a shower because like you're trying to coach me right now and I'm like not here for it, right? True. And so then I've learned that I need to take a moment. So I have this process of I get changed, I take my jewelry off, put my hair up in a bun, and then, you know, I have my little moment where I'm just like, I'm transitioning from work Rebecca into mum Rebecca. And when you learn what that transition is, like you can let go of, because it's like it's an energetic shift, right? Because your head is still like in work mode and creating, right? And it's really hard to switch that off, right? But if I ever go through like a busy season at work, I often speak to the people it will directly impact. And often that's my children and my husband. So I will have a conversation with my husband and I would say, you know, for the next 2 weeks, I'm going to be head down at work. I'm going to be a little bit like, I'm going to be a lot of time at work and you'll see me, but I may not be all there. If I seem a bit, you know, off, you just know that I'm in work mode. I would love for you just to be rock solid for me for the next 2 weeks. And at the end of the 2 weeks, so it's almost like I set a time frame on it. So I'm not saying like you're going to be tortured forever and like no time limit. I'll be like, it's a 2 week or maybe it's 7 days. Like I pop a bubble on it. And then I say at the end of the 7 days or 14 days, we'll go and do something nice. Because then you're setting an expectation of the people that will be directly impacted by your shift in priorities.
That's important, I reckon, because sometimes if you're just doing it without no time limit, then it just ends up like, obviously the kids will go, oh, no, dad's working. Then the missus like, nah, he's not intentional. And it starts to catch on over time. So I feel like setting a time frame is really important. So take some notes, guys.
Take the notes. I'm taking them right now.
Oh, no, straight up. I'm
learning
my
work hours going to be 10 to 2.
That's it, 10 to 2 it is. So.
Awesome. Nah, that's awesome. Now, what would be, because we always want to give a key message to our audience. What would be a key message that you can share? Or messages that you have?
There's been a lot of good key messages, but like, what's your number one?
I think number one is you simply cannot attract something you constantly ignore. What I mean by that, and what I'm actually referencing to, is often any financial goals that you have, any goals that you have, but often it shows up in the form of financial goals. There's a lot of people that want to make a ton of money or they have financial goals, but they feel really uncomfortable spending time and energy in and around your finances. And they don't talk about it. They don't spend their energy and time in and around it. And I think it's key. Whatever you are wanting to attract, you must focus your attention on that. So I say this to my clients a lot. When was the last time you had a money date? And a money date is just when you spend time like looking at your finances and you know, often there's a lot of emotions, and I think this could be in episode 2, round 2 coming up. We're talking about money. But I think they ignore the thing that they want to call in. And I said, how can you possibly attract something that you always look away from? That you almost need to do the opposite. That's the first thing. And I think the second thing is being open to opportunities. Like really open your eyes, like everywhere you go. If you lead yourself with a knowing that you are going to connect with people or have opportunities all around you, they will start to show up at the most random places. You'll, have a conversation with someone at the camera shop and you'll be like, hey, I know you. You'll start to connect with people that you did not think anything will come from it. But if you lead yourself with a knowing of maybe there will be an opportunity here, there are so many opportunities available for you if you choose to be open to them.
That's so true. Wow. That's mad. I love that.
Well, man, there's going to be a lot of snippets on this episode.
100%. I have to.
Good.
No, it's very valuable. And I feel like coming from a female as well, it's good to take in, because some of us guys are just like narrow focused into one thing where you're kind of open
Yeah.
to a lot of things, which is good for us. And I've learned a lot already.
Yeah, me
We're
too.
gonna go episode 2. Eh?
Yeah, 100%, 100%. There's still a lot to talk about. Like,
Yeah.
but yeah, thanks for your time.
We really appreciate your
It's
time.
awesome.
Appreciate it.
Our first female guest.
I feel
So-
I
very
reckon it's a
special.
success. Let's go.
Yeah, no,
Alright.
thank you so much for having me and just for allowing me the space to,
Yep.
you know, to share with your audience. And yeah, I've just loved this conversation with you both, and you're doing incredible things. So thank you.
No, thank you so much.
Rightio, before we finish off, I just want to give a shout out to all our audience that are watching. This one's a really good one. If you liked to like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube and Spotify. And if you want to leave any comments and any questions for Rebecca, please feel free to do so. Let's go.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.